don't know if I want to go down this route because it can get very, very messy. But connecting with people feels very, I don't know the word for it, strained. I find that humans have a difficult time bonding with each other. And maybe it's just my circle. Maybe it is just me and my trauma reflecting itself with my connections to other people. But there's always a fear of closeness, of intimacy. And now that I say it out loud, it sounds like it is me. Because I do attract people who are similar to me. And if they are similar, obviously they'll have issues connecting and bonding. So even though I feel like I want to rant and complain, like I feel that egoic part of myself, like, why are these people so distant? And why is it so hard for them to relax and trust a connection? I'm like, but that's me too. So I can't be mad at what life has given me if that's who I am. I think we like to play the victim in life a lot, always saying, why is life doing this to me? But honestly, most of the time, life is doing to you what you are doing to yourself. Everything is a mirror, I find, in this universe. And people like to talk about the law of attraction and manifestation, but those are just reflection of inner state and consciousness. So whatever state you're in, that is reflected in your environment. If you ever heard about the 7 Hermetic principles, there's a law of correspondence, as above, so below. In the case of talking about heaven and earth, but in the case of humans, it's the same thing as well. The internal always reflects or projects the external. And we can change ourselves and our surroundings so easily, and we don't really understand how simple it is. Changing your environment can do so much for your mood, for your ethic, for your personality. Like, changing your environment can change you so much. But we don't like to think, or at least we do like to think, well, I like to think, that changing what's inside of you can also change the environment. That law of correspondence is very, very solid in this reality. It's one of the codes of this reality. I know I spoke about active mimicry before, the act of aligning yourself with someone who you admire so you can mimic those traits that you like from them. But that's a superpower in of itself, but also law of correspondence. Changing your internal so your external can reflect that is another powerful law. And it's funny because as I was sitting here thinking about what to talk about, and I could just feel my emotional pull of not having my friends be close enough to me because of their own fears, realizing that they are just a projection of my own fears, their mirror, I just dived into one of the most powerful laws that I wasn't even thinking about. And that's the law of correspondence. You yourself, this energy entity, you communicate with the energy around you all the time, even if you're not conscious of it. Like, our mind kind of projects our reality. Scientifically speaking, you can think about the double split experiment. The conscious observer changes the function of reality. It collapses the way it functions, meaning when you observe something, it will take a particular pattern. You yourself, your mind projects this reality. All you're observing currently is a projection. And it's like you can actually choose how you want that projection to look. It might not be the most drastic change ever. You might not one day decide, okay, I want to create a fireball out of nowhere. It's possible. Not saying it's not. But the degree that we can change our reality is so much more than we realize. People, when you heal yourself, you will notice that all the obstacles you've been facing fall away. All the dead energy that's been holding you back fall away. And then life works for you. In the Christian society, they would call this prayer and your prayer being answered. Prayer is just a form of meditation, to be honest. But think about prayer as aligning a frequency where even in the Bible it says, like if you already have it, the Lord had already given it to you. Same thing with manifestation. They're kind of the same thing when you think about it. You're basically changing the internal energy of yourself when you believe you have it already. Once you change your internal energy, your external will change as well. So in regards to me complaining about my friends and feeling how distant they are and how I want to have closer bonds, but it feels like there are barriers up, that's just a reflection of my internal. And I never understood why we don't take our power into our own hands. And we like to play we're the victim of the external, when in actuality, the internal and the external always influence each other. You're always talking to the external is always talking to you. But we kind of give out our power when we say life is doing things to me. It's like a weird form of playing possum. And if you just realize that you're not a victim, you're actually creating your surroundings every single day, every single thought, every single feeling, every vibration that comes off of you touches the space around you. It warps it. It collapses it into a set form or function. And one part of healing or evolving is acknowledging how you can be aware of your own energy, your own thoughts, your own emotions, your own intentions, your own desires. All that's energy. How you can be aware of it and then consciously choose it and align it with the reality that you want. Easier said than done. It's a very challenging process because it takes a lot of honesty with yourself and a lot of vulnerability with yourself. You have to really pick apart what makes you tick, what pushes you to pursue this career, what pushes you to pursue this love interest, what pushes you to enjoy this hobby. Not all the time. I'm not saying spend all the time in thought. There's presence where you're just really still, and then there's observation of these thoughts, and then there's active investigation. So I would recommend stillness, just to have a clear water. Once you settle the ripples in a river, the water becomes very, very clear. You want to be able to see into that lake, I would call it. And that's what stillness does. And then once it's really still, you can see all of the energies that move within you, all these thoughts, all these feelings. And you observe them. And not all the time you have to pick up one and really examine it. But sometimes you realize that you're feeling something that's constant with you. You're always feeling this feeling. You don't know what it is. You realize it might be bothering you in your day-to-day life. It might be affecting certain actions that you're taking. And then you're like, okay, I think I need to pick this one up and look at it. I like to think of this process as, do you know koi fish? And how some Asian cultures, they would have these beautiful ponds and these lakes and these beautiful koi just swimming around. Think of those as your emotions, your thoughts. And you're watching them. And you're watching as they move around your internal energy stream and what they're affecting and how they're making certain waves. And how those waves and those, fluctuations affect your actions in your day-to-day life. And then you might pick up one of those fish, emotions or thoughts, examine it and think, where did you come from? Why are you here? And then you can decide, do I want to keep this fish in my pond? And if I want to release it into wherever it came from, back into the ethereal energy field, how do I transmute it? How do I heal it? Sometimes that takes down a route of therapy. If you're into the spiritual community, you might do some ancestral healing. There are various ways people deal with the energies within them. For me, I prefer to pick them up, understand them, listen to them, and then reprogram it. Because usually those thoughts or those feelings are just a programming that have been embedded there from childhood. So let's say I have a fear of being unworthy. then every time I feel that energy, every time I see that fish in my lake and I see it affecting a part of my life, I would pick it up and then I would heal it with I am worthy. And then that energy gets smaller and fainter. And then that fish vanishes. I hope you're keeping up with my fish analogy on your internal energy stream and really understanding that you have control of that energy stream and you can actually change what's inside of you so your external can change as well. Simple practice. And I feel like we take it for granted because everyone talks about it these days. But meditation and being still, there are many types of meditations, don't get me wrong. There's the one where you actively focus on something, for example, your breathing or sounds or the feeling of a breeze. And then all of those are presence, by the way. All of those are presence because you're being present with whatever you're feeling. But then there's another form, which is a bit more quiet, where you're not necessarily focused on a particular thing or particular sense, but you're focused on silence and nothingness. And it's hard to wrap your head around if you haven't been in that state before. But stillness meditation can really help you discover what your internal energy is like. All of us exude a type of energy and energies that communicate with the universe around us. It creates and it shapes our reality. And I know I started this conversation talking about my friends and how I don't feel like I could connect with them as close as I want to, but it all is a reflection of my own internal stream, my own internal energy fish, thoughts and feelings, and trauma as well. It's all a soup in there. And if I really want to change my surroundings and improve my relationships and even attract better relationships, I have to sit and really work on that energy field of fearing connection and being closed off and disconnecting from people, because that's the energy I'm getting back. And I understand that's energy that I have. But yes, I don't know how we got here. We started with friends not connecting. We ended up on the law of correspondence. And then we ended up on clearing your internal energy fields, monitoring them, and understanding that the more you observe, the more still you are, the more you can heal those energies, clear that water a bit more, and change your reality around you. Again, this is just a video journal, so whatever comes to mind, I'm feeding it right to you and to myself. But that's it for today. If you found this insightful, please leave a like. If you want to hear more of my content, more of my ramblings, please subscribe and leave a comment. Do you know your own fish? Thanks for watching. Have an awesome day.